I didn't hear it say anything this time like it did.
All right. I think we're live.
I'm trying to see if we're live. By going
We are
online.
live. We are live. I see it.
Do you?
Yeah. It's a different video. I mean, it's on a different channel though.
Right. I'm
different.
trying to find it.
We are.
Here we go.
But
Is this
what
it?
I need to do is find a link.
Okay, I see it now. And now I got to figure out how to send
Wait a minute.
this
We're on both
link.
of them, I think. Hey, we're looking like we don't know what we're doing, and that's pretty accurate.
No, we don't. Hello, folks. Welcome to the We Don't Know What We're Doing show.
Yeah.
You're welcome to join us and laugh as we try to figure out our first live together.
You know, I've done lives before, but never from
With two
Zoom
people?
with two people. And I mean, I've just done it direct on YouTube, and it works out pretty good like that. But like this, not so much. Anyways, I thought maybe we could go to the other one and tell people we were over here. Because it sounds like maybe we sent people to the wrong one.
Yeah. So hopefully people can find us.
Yeah,
over
maybe
here,
they'll figure it out. We'll
but,
just chat, and if anybody pops in with any questions, we will.
because we followed a blog that the information that we found that Harold found in a blog,
Yeah.
and we think maybe the information was old.
Yeah, it
So
does appear that way. I'm gonna go and leave a. See if I go to this one. It says there's 4 watching, so maybe a couple people have figured it out.
unless it counted
Yep,
us
I
twice.
see 2 people have figured it out because they're leaving comments. So
Oh, good.
evidently it's showing up the right one. Well, hi folks.
And how are you viewing your comments?
I seen that
Are you
through my
viewing
phone.
that on your phone, or do you have
Yeah,
a
I seen that on my phone
separate
because
screen
it's not showing the chat in the on YouTube for some reason on my computer.
Okay.
So we got to figure that out. Give us a minute here, folks. We're trying to figure things out, and we're not doing a very good job of it.
Yes, live action. Hello, Dalton and Nathaniel. Thanks
Oh, you're
for
seeing
joining us. I'm just looking at it on my phone because I can't see anything on my end of the computer.
Yeah, on the computer, for whatever reason, folks, it's not showing the chat. So we're having to look at our phones, and I don't understand what's happening, but
someday we'll figure it out. Maybe
it's happening. I think if I go to this other thing, oh man, I should have just used a different program other than Zoom to do this. Some of them are set up better for YouTube, I think, for YouTube Live. Like, bear with us just for a second, folks. We're still trying to get this set up here.
So we actually saw the sunset today. We haven't seen the sun in days, so that was kind of a nice little thing. We saw that orange glowing ball just as it was hitting the horizon. That was all we got to see of it today. And probably for the last 5 or 6 days at least.
But just because it's been cloudy and gloomy, or what?
Yeah, cloudy, gloomy, just gray. That gray every day, all day long. Just different shades of gray.
Okay. Well,
so
I'm really having some trouble there.
Yeah,
I made a video today for our Patreon channel of the greenhouse aquaponics. That was kind of fun.
Oh, did you?
A little short one. Yeah, I loaded it up in there, and I think people like that. Yeah, I might even talk a little bit about that here, and we can.
Cool. I made a couple of videos too, but I have not edited them.
Evidently 7. Hey, I finally found the comments.
Yay!
All right, folks.
I made a couple of recipe videos for Patreon.
Okay, really? Okay, videos, good.
Yeah, I just haven't edited them. It's been, that it takes a lot longer. Than it, 10-minute video takes you a lot longer to actually edit and do and set up. And the dog kept eating out of his dog food bowl while I was trying to video it. It was so loud.
So did Hold on a second. I'm trying to get to the chat again. There we go. So, I guess I should ask you, if you can hear us and see us just fine, let us know. I'm going by the comments, but just pop in there and say, yeah, you're coming through.
Yeah, it says we have 6.
Yeah, so, yeah, we have a few people in here. 2 people have commented so far, but yeah, let us know you hear us and see us all right. Like I said, this kind of fell apart and I didn't really get the right link for the right live. So we had to do something a little different, but let us know you can see us and hear us. Anyways, if we're going to take questions, and so if anybody has any questions or whatever, and you want to just ask something, you can. I thought we could just talk about, if there's no questions, we could just talk about maybe what is going to be the focus of our homesteads for this year. Now, I know you got 2 homesteads, so I mean, you're going to be kind of split there, but you're not moving to your other one. I kind of like to know what your plans are at the one you're at, your home.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they hear us all right, it says. So yeah, good. Cool. Thanks, Dalton, for that.
I'm still trying to like completely come up with that plan. But what I have decided was my canning garden. Instead of so what I typically do here is I rotate what I grow each year, and I grow large amounts. So one year I'll grow just a ton of beans, and last year I grew a ton of potatoes, and then I'll can them or freeze them or dehydrate them or whatever. Yeah. And I have to succession plant at home. So it's just nonstop planning of when something's coming out, when it's going in, amending, something comes out, something goes in. But because we have the other property, I've decided I'm going to try to put the canning garden out there.
Okay.
And then have more of a kitchen garden here with cut flowers and my medicinals here. So trying to cut back the amount of, because we're out there a lot on the weekends, and I actually have more time when I'm out there than I do when I'm home here, because when I'm home here, I'm also going to work.
Okay.
And I just last year, my garden got behind here because I'm just not home to work in it. And then we're gone all weekend. So yeah.
Reducing it a little bit, fine tuning it a little bit, getting the things you want.
Yeah. Probably bigger gardens, but smaller here.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing here at this homestead. And then at the other one, we're also going to be doing some fencing.
Okay. Nathaniel asked a good question. He said he planted garlic. He's in Indiana, by the way. Planted garlic beginning of December. It is already sprouted about an inch. Is this normal? Should I mulch over it before more freezing temps? That is normal. It will pop up. Yep. I usually do mulch over it. I will throw something over it and let it pop up through that. And I just throw some straw or some actual wood mulch or leaves. Yeah, leaves are great for that. But I do cover it because it will frost the tips of it. Now, I've never had it not come back, but it is normal that it goes up like that. Just, pops up a couple inches. And before, it just depends on the weather and when you plant it. But yeah, it's pretty normal. Yeah. And a little bit of mulch and it should be fine. It's pretty tough, pretty hardy stuff. And it'll just pop right back up in the springtime and take off on you for sure.
Yeah. That's like my favorite thing to look out and see in the spring.
Yeah. It's the first, it's just the first big, gathering of your garden and the thing you get to enjoy. And we did a whole episode on it. It was a lot of fun. And I love the garlic, and I got mine. I didn't even look to see if I did cover mine with leaves. I probably I don't know. When I first put them on, it was a pretty good layer of leaves, so I'm sure it's settled down by now.
I did too, and mine is settled a lot.
I haven't even looked to see if it's popped up, but
because we had all that snow and then it all melted and we had unseasonably warm, and it got like, I don't know, upper 30s, which is kind of unusual for here. And I was a little bit nervous, but I didn't see any green, but I'm quite a bit further north than.
Yeah. Well, just the weather that we had would make one wonder if it would survive. If anything was going to kill it, it would be this winter with the cold temperatures we had. But I'd say you're fine. I mean, I would imagine that I've never not had it come up. Of course, I've never been quite this cold here in Indiana this early, and blasting it like it did. Because a lot of times you'll have a nice heavy snow over the top of it,
which is a great
before you get temperatures like what we got, and we didn't have that. So that it could have damaged it just because of the temperatures we had without the snow. But I think you'll be all right. I mean, time will tell. But
Yeah,
you
we
can still,
don't
I
have
mean, it
any
still wouldn't hurt to
snow
go ahead and
now.
mulch it. Yeah, I would have mulched. I usually just go ahead. Usually when I put mine in the ground, I go ahead and cover it with
Yeah,
leaves or
so do
whatever,
I.
just right then. Yeah. But I think you still be all right, especially if it looks green right now. It's probably fine. It just needs to be covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'd do. And leaves are
Yeah.
usually just the easiest thing to grab right now. At least
Mhm.
here. I don't know if he has leaves where he's at.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Indiana.
They're
There's
just
leaves
easy
everywhere.
to dry. They're just easy to grab.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna just change a little bit. I'm definitely gonna be focusing. The garden's probably going to stay pretty close to the same, the actual vegetable garden. I might add 2 more beds to the end of that because I had a little bit of room there. I could grow it a little bit bigger. I definitely want to focus on my perennials around my guilds. It's something I just want
yeah.
to put a lot more effort into this year and add a few things around my trees. I really want to get that herb garden going. I mentioned, I don't know if that episode has been released yet. It was, we talked about it a little bit. I think it was in this last episode we just recorded, which hasn't released yet. But I want to put an herb garden. Well, I meant to do it this year. I bought the seeds, but I bought them from Amazon. Most of them did not come up. I ended up getting like some echinacea, and I got a couple things, but I got some dill popped up, but most of it didn't come up. It was a variety pack of herbs. And I don't even remember how many things were supposed to be in it, but I planted 5 or whatever, how many beds it is, 6 beds, I think it is, in that area. And none of it came up except for the very ends where I had the 2 things on the ends. Those popped up and nothing in the middle came up. So I ended up just planting vegetables in there. And yeah, after nothing popped up. But I really want to make that an herb garden. So I really want that just nothing but perennial herbs for the most part in that garden. And just because it's the closest one to our kitchen, it'll just be real easy access for, cooking herbs, medicinal herbs, whatever we want right there. And and the thing about herbs is some of them can be a little bit invasive. So I like the idea of having them away from my vegetable garden in kind of this raised bed, kind of blocked off area, where nothing can really get out and go crazy too much, spread around the yard or spread through my garden.
Right.
So yeah, it'd be a nice little area. And plus I want some, a lot of flower herbs, so it'll look nice right next to the house too. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a focus.
That's always nice to have.
A few more trees. You're probably planting a lot more trees at the big property, won't you? You planted a lot this last year.
Not actually a ton. More adding to, now I'm going to be filling out the guilds. Like I just ordered a bunch of asparagus crowns to put in the guilds and stuff like that. I'm going to be digging a lot of holes for posts.
Yeah. So are you going to go ahead and build, we might as well talk a little bit about that. Are you going to go ahead and build the some areas for animals out there? You're going to put up fencing? Or is it just to keep animals out right now, like wildlife out?
Right now, it's just to keep wildlife out of what I have. So I
didn't know if you're going to be putting up some paddocks or not.
Yeah, I have. So what we put out there right now was the heavier duty T-posts with like a 7-foot deer netting, which is not sturdy at all. The snow, when we got that 2.5 feet of snow, it already took out part of it. So we're going to be going in and putting in like the big posts with actual wire fencing and around the orchard and the grapes. I don't know. We haven't decided yet if we're going to try to include the grapes in that. That will make it a lot bigger, and we'll have to pay for more fencing. So, money. But yeah, so I don't know if we're going to do any animal paddocks yet. We have an area we know for sure will be a animal paddock, but we only have one. We're probably going to be using a lot more movable fencing than like the Electronet.
Yeah.
Once we get some bigger
and that's
animals.
I don't know, maybe everybody in here don't know, but that's a 20-acre
we have
plot of land you bought. It's not no house there yet or anything. You just bought a wooded area.
We have lots of deer. We have bears. What's our other predator? Lots of coyote. that's basically it for the bigger predators. Obviously lots of the other ones in between that, skunks and possums.
Definitely some things that could make it a challenge, raising some livestock,
the bears
chickens
for sure.
Well, even the coyotes, just for chickens
and the coyotes.
Yeah.
I think once we're out there more, the coyotes might be scared off a little bit. I don't know. It's hard to say.
They're like the ones around here. They don't care about people at all. They'll just walk right across the field in front of you. They don't even care.
Well, we caught on our deer cameras, we actually caught coyote in the middle of the day, really close to where we're always at. And we were kind of surprised. They don't care.
A great question just popped up for you, Rachel, and it's something we talked about in our last episode that hasn't came out yet, but you found a great way to lower your fence costs, didn't you?
Well, my daughter actually texted me last Friday, I think it was Friday, and said, "Hey, Mom, I saw a bunch of old posts on it wasn't Facebook Marketplace. It was on Craigslist." And she's like, "You guys should check it out." So up here we have a ton of orchards, probably thousands of acres of orchards, and I think something to do with when you get block permits, which block permits are something that farmers are given to help with the deer population. And in order to get block permits, they have to put up these huge fences. Well, I think they put up like 10-foot poles with the bottoms rot out, and then they cut them off and they have to get rid of them somehow. And then they have to refence. So we got these cut off posts. So they're like 5 or 6 feet tall. So they're not super tall.
You said some of them were a little taller though, didn't you? You said some of them were like,
some of them are taller, some of them are bigger around, some of them are smaller. It just kind of depended on what was there, but we got them for $3 a piece instead of $17 a piece.
Yeah.
That was a huge savings. We'll probably still have to invest in a few taller corner posts, but it'll save us. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know what kind of trees are on that lot too, but if you're going to be thinning out a lot of trees, if you had things like black locust or oak and you had some smaller, young trees where you could be taking those down and making fence posts directly out of those.
Too, yep.
Yeah. I mean, you could
we
do
don't
that
have any
too.
black locust. It's kind of surprising because they are in our area, but we do not have any black locust on our
they seem to just hit the edges of the fence rows and things like that are already there, is where they tend to accumulate for some reason. Around here they do anyway. As far as the actual fencing itself,
the metal part, I don't know.
Sometimes you can find good used fencing, like somebody will take down some fencing and you get on Facebook or Craigslist or whatever, marketplaces or whatever, and you can find some good, rolls of field fencing or barbed wire. If you're looking to just keep animals in, electric wire and barbed wire, but electric wire is probably the most affordable thing that you don't have to, put up a lot. And then you can use those step-in posts. And I mean, it just seems to be the most affordable way to keep livestock in. When it comes to keeping livestock out, it's probably
hot
if
wires.
If it's deer,
really
it's an
hot
issue.
Wires.
Yeah, coyotes are a little easier to keep out than deer.
Yeah, deer can jump.
Deer is really hard to keep out
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna get power to there, but I think our plans on having some pretty hot wire.
They make some pretty good solar fence
do.
chargers, I think. Yeah. I mean, I've not had to buy any, but I think they make some pretty good solar ones. They snap pretty good.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it's always one of the biggest expenses when you're setting up a property. If you're going to have animals and gardens and whatnot, you have to keep wildlife out and livestock in. Fencing is definitely a major expense, and anything you can do to cut that, like what you did buying used.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll just keep looking. It was not an ideal day to go pick up fencing. We had to move a ton of stuff just to get to a trailer so we could take it. We had to borrow our daughter's truck to go. I mean, it was just, everything was kind of a pain, but we saved a lot of money. So
few years ago, I put this ranch style fence around my house. You've probably seen it in pictures if you've ever seen any pictures of my place in the video, but I built that out of all used 2x6s and 2x4s and 4x4s I bought on Facebook Marketplace. I picked up, I think, 3 truckloads of used, and they had I don't know what they tore down, but they had like the nail holes in them, where they actually removed all the nails from them, and just tons of boards. And I got a real good buy on them. I think I was given I think it was $3 for 8-foot 2x6s and $1.50 for 8-foot 2x4s. And I just filled, I mean, I got like 3 full truckloads of them. I built so much stuff around here with those. I mean, a lot of the trellises I built, the fence. I mean, I've repaired our front porch. I built part around of our deck, a couple of the decks, the one in front of the greenhouses. That, I mean, I was just using that wood everywhere. And it worked really well. But again, it was used lumber, and just made it work, and you have to put some extra coats of stuff on them, because obviously them holes and stuff, they caused water to get down in there and rot. So you want to coat them up real good with something,
Right.
But
yeah, I mean,
they worked.
with everything going on, you just kind of have to save pennies wherever you can.
But I mean, honestly, the reason I planted in my big garden out here in front of my barn this year, why I ended up just rototilling and planting in the ground, because I wanted to put raised beds. For the last 3 years, I wanted to put raised beds there, and lumber just was crazy. And I'm like, you know what?
Crazy.
I'd rather have a garden in the ground than have my nice raised beds. I love raised beds, but I mean, there was some definite benefits to having it in the ground. I mean, it was a good year for that to happen because of the drought, and stuff in the ground is a little bit more durable during a drought than raised beds. Raised beds definitely dry out a lot faster.
Yeah, they do.
And they can really put them roots down deep in the ground. And, so it helps a lot. It made it a lot better. So, I mean, I definitely want to, so fencing is something you're going to be putting up this next year at your other property for sure. It sounds like that's going to be a big project. I'm going to, like I said, expand the garden slightly, work on guilds, herb garden. Definitely want to let the aquaponic system that I put in my greenhouse, I'm definitely going to, I think through the summer. I mean, one of the biggest problems in a greenhouse, I always just open through the whole summer. I usually plant tomatoes and peppers in there, open the door, open the hatch in the roof, let the air flow. And I put stuff in there that can handle it. The problem is, though, in the past, you got to remember to water that, because obviously it's not getting the water. Yeah. And so I've had a few times where I was like, oh man, I forgot to water in the greenhouse. Well, the aquaponics I think would work good in there, because I don't have to worry about watering. Now I'll have to remember.
That's a good point.
In the summertime, though, I will have to probably at least once a week go in there and fill I imagine a lot of water will evaporate in the summertime out of the reservoir for the fish.
Yeah. How big are those tanks in there, or those totes?
Well,
I can't remember.
How big are the
fish?
The fish, it's about just over 2 feet deep, 2.5 feet wide, and 8 feet long. I don't know how much, I figured it up one time how much water that was. It's quite a bit of water.
Yeah, but it'll still evaporate pretty quick.
It will,
especially
I mean,
heat. Yeah,
it will.
Yeah, I see Sean asked another question, or actually made a comment.
Yeah,
he said in more heavy commercial borderline industrial areas, you can find long 8-foot plus pallets built with 4x4 and 4x6 runners. And it's easy to take them apart, unlike the 4x4 pallets. Yeah, that's a good point. I see a lot of free pallets still. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I do a lot with pallets around here. And I have one of them pallet busters, where you pop in, you can pop the boards off.
Yeah, they have like a special tool.
Yeah, they have it's got like an L shape. It's out right behind me on this door. I'm out in the barn in my office out here. But yeah, it just has like an L shape that you can kind of stick it in there and pry back on it, and it'll just pop in boards right off. And I got some the big pallets he's talking about. I've actually gotten some of them from the job I used to have a couple years ago. They used to bring in trailer semi doors. There was a shop at this trucking company, and they'd bring in they'd have the doors for the backs of the trailer semi, or the semi trailers, and those would come on like big, like 10-foot long, like 2x6 pallets. I mean, they had like thick 2x6 boards and 4x, like what he's talking about. And yeah, it would, I'd pop those apart, and I use those a lot around here for some projects for sure.
Yeah, I should see. I don't know if my husband gets any that huge at his work, but I know they get heavy duty ones because they bring in heavy pieces of metal on them. And he actually built he built a pretty nice deer blind out of pallets from work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're nice. Did you see that picture? You've seen that. I know you did. You commented on it, the roots on that cuttings. I think I want to see if I can.
How long was that in there?
Let me see if I can. screen share that somehow here. I think I can.
Oh boy, here he
Yeah, I
goes.
might. Oh, I hope I don't kill it. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. Share screen. Let's see here. See if I can. Oh, there's a
Yeah, I
photo.
haven't had much luck doing
Are you
root
seeing that?
cuttings. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I do see it. Yeah. I don't know if it
Okay.
came on YouTube. I think there's a little bit of a delay from
Yeah,
what
there's a little bit
people
of a
are
delay. It's
saying to
fine.
what
But yeah,
we're.
that was in there about 5 weeks.
Wow. And is that
And
what is that, elderberry?
that's elderberry. Yeah, yeah. And it just blew up in there. I was kind of amazed
Is
at
that like an ebb and flow bed or?
well, it is. The way it works is ebb and flow. It doesn't have it does it all through the pump though. The way I have it designed, it does it all with the pump. Now let's see if I can stop share without killing it. There we go.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I think we're still there.
yeah. Yeah, it works from the pump. What I have is I have 2 bulkheads in each one of those beds. One goes in and one's basically for an overflow pipe. So the one will come through they both come through the bottom. So it'll come up, the water comes up one when it's pumping it, and that one is flat with the bottom of the bed on a bulkhead. And then once the bed gets so tall, it has this other bulkhead in it with a hose going back down to the water, and it has a pipe a standing pipe in it. So when the water gets up to that level, it runs over that pipe and then back down and in. So it never gets higher than that standing pipe. So it won't come, keep going and keep going. It'll run for 4 minutes. And then when it shuts off, of course, the water's in there, but it back flushes through the pump and it goes back down that bottom hole. And then it just basically flushes back out through the pump and goes back into the bed that way. So and then I have like a manifold where it's going to the different beds. So all of them fill up at the same time, all of them drain at the same time. And so it is ebb and flow. It fills up for 4 minutes every 2 hours, and then it goes dry for 2 hours.
And so why do you think that works so much better for the roots?
It just does, obviously. I mean, I've rooted elderberry without that, with just putting it in water before, or even in the ground, and it never roots that fast. I mean, it roots pretty good.
Yeah,
elderberry's famous for rooting, but it never roots that good that fast. I think it's you've heard of air pruning and things like that, the roots, and there's just this,
they get more oxygen.
They're getting a lot of oxygen, so they're getting the water, getting wet, moisture, and then they're getting oxygen. It's just back and forth. And I think it's just those roots reach.
And you don't have any nutrients in the water at all.
Just the fish waste.
Fish waste. See, I wonder if that's
so that's probably benefiting and helping that out a lot. Yeah, it's probably doing something for that. So at this point, like I said, my plan was to grow veg in there this winter, but with this cold snap we've had.
Is it still cold there?
It's not right now, but it's just, it will be. But I mean, who knows? If we get another one like that, I mean, everything's just going to die again. I don't want to waste the money on seeds to keep planting it and planting it and planting it just to have it die. So
what about some cold hardy stuff like, I don't know, brassicas or?
I did have brassicas in there. It killed those.
They still killed them.
Yeah, with heat in there too. I've even had a heater running. I knew you
had that tomato plant.
Yeah, I had a heater running in there 24/7. And it does great normally. And like I said, it got down in the 20s. It would be fine. 10, I think I seen it down to 10, and it kept it above freezing in there. But with the wind chill, it got down like 30 something below zero with the wind chill. It could not even come close to keeping up.
I didn't realize everything just that cold.
Yeah, we don't normally, but
we didn't get that cold.
We didn't
get that cold during that snap. So
yeah. Well, but anyway, the cuttings, I had like 5 or 6 cuttings in there at that point. They did great. It didn't hurt them at all. I mean, you see them, they're still going strong. So I said, okay. And I just took all the dead plants out of the aquaponic system, and I just filled it full of cuttings. And I just put all the different cuttings in there. And cause this spring, I want to just fill the homestead up with, elderberry. I got a whole fence line. I want to just make an elderberry fence line, currants. I'm trying to root a couple of mulberry cuttings, and fig, and some goji berry, which I know the goji berry will go. You can't stop it. But currants and the fig, I'm really curious about. I don't care if the mulberry is more of an experiment. I just kind of wanted to see if it would root quick in there with some mulberry cuttings.
They're easy to do cuttings on, but
I
tried last year and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, and I think maybe the aquaponic system, if it's going to do it, it probably would do it pretty well. So I'm excited to see that. I want to see if that
Yeah.
works well.
Well, and that's a huge cost saving to buy. I mean, trees are so expensive. Trees and bushes are.
Elderberry. I mean, I bought a couple of elderberry for this homestead a couple years ago, and now I have several because I just kept cutting and planting and cutting and planting. And I popped 80 cuttings into that that aquaponic system. I figure at least 30, 35 will go down that fence row. So I might have some to pass along.
Your well, I am a happy recipient. Your property is going to be just like so full. It's going to be like a jungle.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the goal. Pathways and, just guilds everywhere surrounding you. And yeah.
And you're not having issues with sun. That's interesting.
Well,
I'm trying the same thing. I mean, my edges, I keep planting stuff into and trees and bushes.
Yeah, the way I do it, I don't. I mean, I try to just keep the south side of the garden. I mean, there's a couple trees there, but they're so spaced apart that it just gets this, maybe in the middle of the day, it might get an hour block or something of sun, then it goes past it, which is actually probably good for it. I mean, I've not had any issues with that. And I keep the trees low enough to where it ain't going to or small enough to where it ain't going to just completely take it over.
Speaking of trees, are you going to be considering pruning soon? It's warmer down there.
Probably, yeah. I'm going to make sure it's during a dry period of the winter. Because, when they get wet, you want it good and cold.
Yeah, I didn't know when you normally do it.
I generally do it like late winter.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, it's just usually it's a little drier then.
I do it before. I usually do it before we tap trees, maple syrup.
Yeah.
Or kind of after, somewhere around in there. Like, yeah.
Okay.
I want to do it before we have the warm days and the cold nights and the sap starts going. So
I think I could safely do it now. It's been pretty dry we did get some rain the other day. I don't know. I just believe I don't like where I cut it to get really super damp and moist, and then it's going to be warmer. If you have a little warm stretch or whatever, it can actually create some mildew and fungus and whatnot on the opening, the wound there. So I try not to.
Yeah, because it's going to be a little while yet, but I heard somebody mention it today that they were going to be, and I'm like, wow, it seems so early, but I guess they're further south. So,
but some trees that wouldn't hurt. I mean, like I could cut the mulberry anytime. I don't think you could hinder that in any way, shape, or form.
I'm pretty convinced there's not a whole lot you can do to hurt a mulberry tree.
Yeah. Folks, if you have any more questions or anything, feel free to pop them in. We're glad to try to answer them. Even if we can't, maybe we can point you in a good direction of where you can get an answer or do our best to answer it. But yeah, pruning is going to be a thing. It's probably I usually take, a couple, 2 or 3 days there, and I just really focus on the cleanup of pruning and, just cutting plants back or whatever. I usually do the grape vineyard earlier than this. I usually do it after soon as ever the leaves fall off it for some reason, but I didn't this year. It's completely full and it's a mess, and I don't know, I'm gonna have to really do some serious hacking on that because it's really overgrown.
Mine are only like this big yet, so
yeah, mine's yours
are huge. I've seen them.
Yeah, there's branches across that are probably 25 feet. The vines are like 25 feet long, spreading down to the fence. And I don't know, and I always question myself, like, how far do I cut that back? Because I keep seeing growth all the way. I mean, I'll see nice bunches of grapes all along it.
As long as you're still getting fruit and fruit.
I've seen people let them go, but then, grape vineyard, you go to a grape vineyard and they always cut them back to a small bush every time.
I know.
I think it is healthier for the plant to do that. I think it's huge. I mean, it's just, it's amazing how big it is and how many grapes we get from.
You're going to have to make some baskets and wreaths. And
I could this year. I got a lot of, there's a lot of vine there to cut out. What's bad is I use cattle panel across the top, and it works great for holding everything up, but man, is it hard to prune through that, because you're trying to pull it, because they weave through it, and then you got to just take chunks and try to get that out of there, and it's hard. I mean, it makes it kind of a challenge. But it's a cheap way to build an arbor for your grapes.
That's my love-hate relationship with like the vegetable netting.
Oh yeah, weaves through
netting.
Good,
it's the same thing. It weaves through it, and you just, it's such a pain.
Yeah.
But it's a cheap, affordable way to grow up. And when you grow in an urban lot and you don't have space, you grow up.
Beans are really, they'll really tangle in there. You grow like
sometimes I wait till they get like they dry up a little bit, and
crumble
sometimes
them
they're a
out.
little easier.
Yeah, I've done that too. Just kind of
out.
break them out of there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. I think I've been sitting around circling things in my seed catalogs and getting the plan. I don't think I'm going to grow too many exotic annuals or anything. I think it's going to be a meat and tater kind of year. You know what I mean? It's just the basics. Because honestly, I just we can talk about this a little bit. The economy looks bad. I mean, and who knows what? I mean, just with things that are going on with the prices of things like eggs and lettuce. I mean, you've seen the price. We probably haven't seen the price of lettuce because you don't buy lettuce, but I mean, things are really going crazy, and you really just got to think, what's those staple things you eat? Let's plant that.
Are going to produce. That's kind of why I grew all the potatoes I did last year. It was like
I think
this
potatoes,
challenge
beans,
to me was like, how many potatoes can I put and grow? And those staple things that it's probably not the time for experiments.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't help myself on a couple things, but
I can't either. I bought peanut seeds.
But I don't think I'll be going crazy with it. And I think I will just be leaving a lot of room for those things we eat a lot of, like green beans and corn and, and potatoes and
squash.
Yeah, the squash and the tomatoes and just the things we eat a lot of, cucumbers. And of course, those don't store real well, but in pickle form, I guess they do. But I mean, we're just going to do the things that we can preserve well, we eat a lot of, that we like, and grow a lot of that. So I'm circling lots of things, but lots of things I'm circling, I probably won't grow because they're kind of, a lot of those things are just, ooh, that's neat. What's that? Well, I'm gonna check that out. And then I don't know if I will or not, because again, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say I'm scared or anything like that, but at the same time, it's like, you have to be concerned about keeping food on the table. And
I'm for sure, like what I think I'm going to be growing, what I do grow, I'm going to be making sure it gets lots of attention and love this year.
Yeah. Sean says the economy is looking wicked bad. Potatoes will be a must for us as well. I kill most things except that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's your staple crop. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of around now would be time when you either ordered your seed potatoes or you found some soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're looking for a calorie-rich plant, I mean, that's going to be a calorie,
the winter squash and the potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are good.
Do you grow sweet potatoes down by you? Up here, you kind of have to, you can grow them, but you have to work a little bit harder at it.
They grow pretty good here. I mean, I don't let them, some people let them completely own an area. I don't. I'll give them a 4x8 section, just plant a few and let them fill that up, but I don't let it go crazy.
You have them in a raised bed?
Yeah.
I will never not grow them in a raised bed again.
I do have this.
I got them to grow. I do not know how I got them to grow so well up here. People were shocked, but I planted them under black fabric, which I think helped heat the soil up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mining expedition. I spent so much effort trying to dig them up and not break them, because if you break them, they don't last as long. That I was like, I'm never growing these not in a raised bed. Or
do you eat a lot of the leaves as well?
We didn't. No.
Yeah,
the deer
I don't
did.
tend to eat a lot of them either.
Loved the leaves.
Might add a few to a salad here or there or something, but I don't get crazy with them. I actually have this in the front of my property. I put in a couple little guilds out there, and there's a few things growing there, but it kind of slopes down to a hill. A little bit of a hill. It's not like a big drop or anything, but it slopes down. And I thought about taking a rototiller and just going back and forth on that land. It's probably 30 feet wide. And I thought about taking that hill and then just rotilling it and just filling it full of sweet potatoes and letting them vine up the hill over and then come into my guilds a little bit.
They do look pretty.
Almost like a ground cover around my guilds.
Yeah, because they cover everything. They are kind of pretty.
I considered that, and it would be a lot of food, but it's also out there kind of close to the road, and I don't know, it's just probably a bad area.
Get pollution from your road, lots of nasty.
Well, our property kind of sets up on a little bit of a hill, not a lot, but it's definitely elevated to where stuff isn't washing into our property.
Well, that's good.
So
here, the snow plows would push salt snow onto it because we get
we're slightly elevated to where we just don't have to worry about the garbage kind of floating onto our property or anything. Like I said, not just a few feet, 4 or 5 feet up above road level, which keeps everything from just kind of going into, our yard, which is nice. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something you got to think about when you got a year. Like, I mean, I hope things turn around, but it looks bad. It looks like we're going to be spending a lot of money on gas, a lot of money on groceries,
a lot of money on eggs,
electric bills gone way up. I mean, things are just getting crazy. I mean, you got to be concerned. You got to, one thing we can do as homesteaders is grow our food and grow food that you'll actually eat. So I grow a lot of things that I eat and I go, I could do without that. Well, I don't really want to do a lot of experimenting like that,
And some of these things can be grown so easily in a container. I grew potatoes last year in big.
Mine didn't do great in the container. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of luck with the container potatoes, but they can.
But
Sean, just keep working at the other stuff. Maybe you'll get a green thumb for some of those other things. I did great with corn this year. I put so much corn. I froze it because I didn't feel like canning it. Huh?
All sweet corn.
Sweet corn. Yeah, I grew a ton of that. And I put a lot in the freezer. I mean, we've been pulling it out about once a week and having a few years of that because I just left it on the cobs and put it in the freezer. We blanched it and threw it in the freezer because I didn't feel like canning all that, removing it all and canning it. Takes up a lot of space in the freezer, but it's also that's a lot of food, that we can eat on.
Well, you did it on the cob then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just blanched it and dropped it in bags, sealed it, threw it in the freezer. And we pulled it out several times.
So when you go to eat it, you just cook it and eat it like it was corn on the cob.
Yeah, we just boil it up.
I've never done it that way. I've always just either cut it off and froze it or cut it off and canned it. So
yeah, we left it on the cob, but we like to eat it that way anyway. And no doubt it takes a lot more space. I mean, it's
but it probably tastes almost like summer.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I mean, we've had it several times already, and it's good. I think I just grew 2 4x8 beds of it. I packed it in pretty tight though, and I think I put close to 400 ears in the freezer. So I was like,
you had a really good harvest then.
The corn did great this year. I don't even know.
Do you remember what breed it was?
I planted 3 different kinds. Okay. But there was one that was like it was called like candy corn, and it did the worst. It was more of a novelty, sweet corn, and it did the worst. It had the smallest ears, and I mean, I got some of them, but a bunch of them turned into smut because I was watering overhead.
You can eat that, but
I know, and I'm not gutsy enough to do it. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's a delicacy," eating that corn smut, and I was like, I'll give you all you want.
Look like a delicacy. It looks.
I'll hand it right to you. You can have all you want. Because a lot of it did because, and the reason it did that was because we was having that real bad drought year. Well, I just stuck a sprinkler out there, and I was just watering overhead.
Oh, it got
and it's a moisture thing. It's if you get a year with a lot of rain, it'll create a lot of smut. Corn, and it's in that sprinkler because I was running it every evening for 30 minutes. And it turned a bunch of that particular corn ended up in as smut. A lot of it did, which was weird. I just think gutsy enough to eat it.
There.
I tried giving it to people that told me that, but they wouldn't take it. So I think they were just trying to get me to eat something that they wouldn't eat themselves.
How are you supposed to eat it? Are you supposed to fry it up or?
I did look it up when I was looking at it because I was like, "What is this?" Because I've never had that problem.
It's weird looking. It just looks like these.
Yeah, it looks disgusting, moldy, really
mushroomy things.
But like some of the finest restaurants in the world serve that. Yeah, I was looking it up, and it's like it's considered a delicacy in a lot of places. Places try to make.
So are snails and
right. They'll eat. Yeah, wealthy people eat anything. We'll sell them all the slugs and corn smut they want.
Right. I think I'd rather have ducks. The ducks can eat the slugs, and then I can eat the duck eggs.
Pigs can eat the smut. Yeah, there you go. Get some pigs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I had that. But we did. I mean, other than that, I had a really good corn year. I mean, we had, like I said, some of that did. I can't remember the other 2. I mean, I got the packs because I didn't. I kept a bunch of it. But it just did great. Where'd I get it at though? I might have got that at Baker Creek. I think
they have a pretty nice selection of.
I think that's where I got the
corn
varieties from, and they did great. Yeah, they did great. So they definitely doing corn again. I didn't plant corn for many years.
every pumpkin I open, even if I didn't grow it, because I have a few from other places, and so I've just been saving those. I'm gonna just toss them all over the property.
Yeah.
All those
Okay.
seeds
They'll
just
grow.
kind of, yeah.
I got a really good butternut squash a year, and I got a lot of that on the shelf, and I've been, going through that a little
Nice.
bit. And sometimes I'll just bake one and eat it, and sometimes I'll make a butternut
You
squash
like that
soup.
soup, yeah.
Yeah, I love the soup. It's my favorite soup.
You
Yeah.
need to look up that Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart has a recipe. I shouldn't even tell you this because it's not the healthiest thing ever, but it's a recipe with it's butternut squash macaroni and cheese.
Huh.
It is
Really?
amazing. You use butternut squash, but it's still got all the cheese and macaroni in there. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I might look that up. That sounds
If
good.
you Google it just like that, you'll find it. It's
I'll look
pretty
that
good.
up. Yeah, we got quite a bit. I mean, I don't know. I probably have 40 of them on shelves. I got a bunch
Wow,
of them.
that's a lot.
I've been eating a bunch of them. Yeah, we had a pretty good year for butternut squash, which is my favorite squash. I love it.
Have you ever
I tried to
planted
grow.
it?
I tried to grow those acorn squash this year, and none of them grew.
You know what I grew different this year was delicata.
Oh yeah,
And it
yeah.
actually did really well. It was, yeah.
You ever grow the what's it called, the trombona?
I have
You know what I'm
not.
talking about? Those really big, and they kind of
Yes,
twirl around.
it's
They
really
get huge.
long and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'd like to
Have
grow
you
them.
ever grown? What are those ones that are big and warty and they're green? They're like
I know what you're talking about. A friend of mine grows them, and he
trying to
gave
remember the
me
name.
2 of them to eat,
Oh, they're
and I
huge.
collect the seeds out of them, but I haven't planted them yet.
What are they? Oh
I know what
shoot.
you're talking about.
They're huge.
Yep,
I've
they
always
are.
just wanted to grow those just because I think it would look cool to look out in the
Somebody in the
gardens.
comments, somebody in the listening knows what that is. Tell us, because I
Yeah,
can't think
I
of it
was like
either.
thinking I got my Fedco seed catalog here
Yeah, I'm sure they got that in there.
it'll come to my mind later. But
Yeah.
I just always thought it'd be fun to look out there and see that sitting in the garden, that big squash.
By the way, everybody, it's in here. I don't know if you listen to the Living Free in Tennessee podcast with Nicole
Oh
Sauce.
yeah.
I'm supposed to be on her podcast tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be live. I think it's going to be live on her channel tomorrow at
I'll
11.
try to catch it if I can.
Yeah, tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about urban homesteading. So I don't know if any of you are interested in that, but that's kind of which I'm sure we'll branch off into some other things. Yeah, right. If you want to catch that on her channel, I'm assuming it's going to be live. I think everything she does is live on YouTube. So you can go check that out tomorrow and catch me on there.
So. She's got she does a lot of homesteading stuff too. So
yeah. So I'm pretty sure it'll be live, but that should be a good conversation.
Is she just talking to you about your homestead, or?
Yeah, I think the topic that I presented to her is this urban homesteading, because the reason I wanted to discuss that topic on there, maybe we should talk about it on our podcast too at some point. We both got a little bit of experience with that. Is this what exactly we just talked about? Because things are looking kind of grim, and I think there's a lot of people there's a couple kinds of people. There are people who are worried and they're wondering what they can do. And there's a lot of people who are worried and think they can't do nothing. So they're just like, whatever. And I guess the point I want to make with people is that just because you're on a small piece of land, or even, I mean, even down in an apartment in some levels, I mean, you can do microgreens and things like that and grow some food. There's actually a lot you can do. I mean, for a long time on 1/10 of an acre, I was growing a ton of food, and now I'm a 1/4 acre growing even more. So there's so much you can grow, so much you can do. And I didn't know it either. There was a time when I didn't know it, and then crisis kind of hit my life, and I had to make some decisions and look at some things. And I think a lot of people are going to be facing crisis, and they're going to be looking for some answers or some possibilities of how they can save money, put some food on the table, things like that. And I just think it's a timely topic, because the reality is most people live in that situation. Most people don't have 1 acre, 2 acres, 5 acres of land. Most people live in the city, and they have a little, postage stamp lot, 1/10 of an acre or whatever. And that's the reality for most people in the United States.
And we did a recent podcast about this, kind of threw out a bunch of ideas.
about getting started homesteading.
Yeah. And
But
even some smaller
and you know that it was even just like the practice of or learning skills.
Yeah.
But this even goes beyond that. This is actually the reality of like, can I put food on my table? I mean, when it isn't about building skills any longer or just getting exercise and this is about, is it worth it on a small piece of property or even an apartment to try to grow some of my own food? Is it worth it? Can I grow enough to make a difference? And I think that's what we're going to talk about. And I think it's a good topic
because I think it is when I have heard stories. Now I haven't bought lettuce from the store in a while because I have it growing in my basement. But when a head of lettuce is $8 and you can grow lettuce in your basement, $10 a week.
Yeah, and we don't even go down the egg route.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you could put quail in your apartment, I suppose. Just don't say anything to anybody. I think it's Hubbard squash, by the way.
Hubbard, that is it. Yeah. Hubbard. A friend of mine gave me 2 of those last year, or 2022, and he said, try these. These are pretty good, and they were good. And I saved the seeds out of them.
They are pretty good.
I'm thinking I'll plant those. Yeah, I'll be planting those this year too because I saved the seeds.
They have a pretty good outer shell. They probably would store pretty well.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Do you do spaghetti squash?
I have grown them. I didn't this year, but I have.
Yeah, we grow.
I like those.
Yeah, I usually grow a couple, and it's kind of a neat little replacement for, I guess, for pasta and stuff. It's fun to cook. But yeah, I grew those. Everybody talks about those acorn squash, how prolific they are, and how you can just, they just did. I think the plants would pop up and then they would die back, and I didn't get one single acorn squash. I don't know what happened with those. Maybe I just had some bad seeds or something. I don't know.
We had the 7 weeks of no rain. I can't remember which direction it was, if it was 7 or 6 the first time around, but we had 7 weeks of no rain, and then we got dumped on for a couple of several weeks in a row, and I ended up getting downy mildew.
Yeah.
And then we got 6 more weeks or 7, I can't remember which way it was, of drought after that. So a lot of my squash struggled this year.
Well, yeah. Nathaniel says, I was fortunate enough to just purchase a 5-acre farm. Was all pasture. Yeah. Trying to get trees established and get a garden area clean. And my green thumb was excellent with ragweed last year. Yeah, the ragweed in Indiana is serious.
Yeah.
But congratulations on a 5-acre farm. That's a lot. Cool. What's the book? Really cool. 5 acres and a dream, or whatever it is.
5 acres and that? No, that's 10 acres and up.
That's 10 acres and up. There's 5 acres and a dream or something. There's a book out there. It talks about all they're doing on 5 acres. 5 acres is a lot of land. You can
It'll wear you out.
Yeah, it will. And I mean, no doubt you're probably going to block some of that off for animals, I would say. I mean, I would definitely, probably 3 acres of it would be like livestock for me. Probably I would go with some pigs or something. But if it was me, but yeah, congratulations. Yeah, it is a dream of mine to maybe get on some bigger acreage one day. But
yeah,
I don't rule out the capabilities of growing a lot of food on a small space, because you certainly can. Yeah. I would have never believed. I mean, I didn't believe it, 15 years ago myself. And then when kind of tragedy struck my life and I was like looking for a way to make it happen here. And I found other people that were doing it, and I was like, well, that can be done, and in a significant way, and made it happen. But no doubt 5 acres would be a blessing. Yeah.
Yeah. We were actually talking about that with one of our daughters, and she was like, do you need to use that whole 20 acres? And I'm like, oh no, we only need a very small portion of it. The rest of it's more about privacy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes. I need it as a border for my neighbors.
Right. But we don't need the whole entirety of it.
That's hiking area. Yeah. Hiking and hunting. Yeah. And your husband will hunt every square inch of that area, and you too.
Oh, we hike it now like all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and he had good luck hunting out there too. He got his deer out there, didn't he, this year?
Yeah. In fact, we were just eating some sausage and salami that I made. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. Nathaniel says he's going to have a half an acre for free range chickens. He currently has 20 hens, or what? Yeah, 2 acres will hopefully be fenced, and a few smaller cattle. Like the Dexters, fun. Or do the Dexter cattle. Those are pretty cool if that's what you're doing. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Oh, cattle! I'm jealous. You're gonna have some nice. Are you gonna be using Are those for meat, or are they gonna be for milk?
Oh, I'm guessing meat.
That's what I'm guessing.
I would definitely have
usually
some.
call them cattle if they're meat.
Yeah, definitely. I would probably have some pigs, but I'm a pig guy. I mean, I like to eat pig. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
Dexter or Galloway. Yeah, those are
nice.
good. I hear some good things about those.
I
We
like
always
pigs. I've always said that our property is a pig property because you need 4-wheel drive. Our property's pretty hilly. So.
When I was growing up, we had cows, but for meat, but we would get them. He says for meat, not energetic enough for milking daily.
I hear you. I
That would
do
be a lot
not
of
have
work.
any desire to have a milk animal.
Well, we would get a lot of times when I was growing up, the farmers, when they'd have when their cows would give birth, they would have, there'd be one that was like runt or whatever, or small or whatever, and they'd sell them. They'd sell like the Jerseys and the Holsteins. So we'd always get the Jerseys and Holsteins for meat. We'd raise them for meat, but we'd have to bottle feed them, and and all that stuff for a while and get them going. And we do the same thing with pigs. There was always these runt pigs and stuff that farmers would just give them away. A lot of people, and my dad he just knew all the farmers around, so they just throw that stuff at us, and we'd get them real. I mean, he'd buy those calves for like $50, or get the pigs given to me, things like that, and we'd raise stuff like that. So yeah, it worked out well though. We always had a few cows and a few pigs and a lot of chickens, and yeah, but it was a little bit bigger. But yeah, I hear a lot, the Dexters especially, I've heard a lot of people talk about. They really like those Dexters.
I had a friend with and I don't know if they're all the same or if it's a different. I'm not real good on my cow breeds, but he always called him a belted Galloway. I don't know if it's the same thing, but
I don't know much about those.
He had them and he loved them. That was like all he had. Kind of lost track of him when he got off of Facebook. So,
well, that's nice. Yeah, that's great, man. 5 acres, you should be able to. Yeah, you do a lot with that. You narrow that down to just a couple acres for growing things and trees, and putting your orchards in, things like that, and then that'll be a nice little homestead there. But slow. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't do too much too quick, because
it's kind of hard right now with what we just talked about with everything going on. You kind of want to just dive in.
Well, and that's where I think annual garden is fine. Yeah, I just rototill up, throw in a bunch of the staple crops that you're going to eat, and go with that. But when it comes to putting in the trees and putting in the fencing for the animals, things like that, that's slow steps, those baby steps, and you could definitely take on too much too fast and burn yourself out. And
I was talking to a friend today she has a large, I don't know how many cows they have. They used to have 250 head of Black Angus, and I was talking to her today about fencing, and she was telling me some of their fencing mistakes. She's like, don't do this and don't do this. This is what we did. And she's like, they put a fence at the bottom of a gully where the two, so it was kind of in a gully. And she said, guess where all the water goes? And you're trying to get in and out of the fence. So she was giving me some tips.
Yeah. And that's where I like the permaculture concept of just observe, take a year and just observe your property, because you're going to learn a lot of things about, and things are going to look different. We talked about this on an episode not too long ago. Things in the winter are going to look different than the summer, and you're going to see things happen that's going to help you determine the layout of things when you just watch it for a year or longer sometimes. I'm a firm believer, unless you just have to do something because of an emergency situation, like get some food, whatever, but you can pick an area, even if it's not a permanent area, just to get something going. But before you do the big stuff like planting trees and putting in your pastures and your gates and things like that, it is a good idea just to observe for a while and just see where water is going to settle, and see where, snow drifts end up and winds blowing. And, just there's so much about the sectors and the zones that you'll learn just by watching and observing for a few months.
2 years, I think we've owned our property maybe 2.5 years. The first year we had the most water we'd ever had. Like Lake Michigan had houses falling into the water because the water was so high.
Really?
And then, it was bad. We had tons and tons and tons of water. And then this last year we had these horrible droughts. So we saw both of that on our property, and it was pretty interesting to observe. And it was kind of nice that we don't have any permanent structures in, because we saw both of those.
A friend of mine actually he got him a property, and we had a really dry, I think the first year he was there, it was wasn't super dry, but he noticed there was some water collecting, but he didn't think a lot of it because it wasn't much. Well, anyway, he started running rabbits and chickens in tractors. No, it was rabbits and quail in tractors. And he's running them across there. And then we got a really heavy rain event. And they drowned because he had them out there in the tractors right where the water, and it went through like a river. And he'd never seen it before, never seen it do that before. Right. And it literally just drowned all of his animals. Because
I can see how it happened.
Observing. Yeah. I mean, it's just, again, take time. No. And then after that, every year it's like, he just knew the river was coming, and it did every year. It's just this big river, like flowing through his property.
We were out at our property when we had, I mean, it was a deluge and lightning and everything. And we had water, just like you described, like a river. And we were floored how much water there was.
I know at one point he drove his truck back there, and then it came and he couldn't get out. He would get stuck if he tried to get out, and he couldn't get his truck out of the field because he couldn't get across that water because he was back there. He left his truck back there for a couple days.
The observation part of permaculture.
It's important. Yeah. So you definitely want to, check out your property. And I'm sure he's thought about all that, It is easy though, when you get a new place, to just want to get started, and it would be hard.
Not always quickly. Like that was 2 years. If we would have made decision based upon that first year when the water was really high, or if we would have made decisions based on how the water was this year, both of those kind of would have been wrong assumptions.
Yeah. Well, anyway, folks, we just wanted to jump in and have a little chat with the kind of live, we don't do that very much. And I think we're going to do it more often. I enjoyed it. We love to answer questions, and we don't get an opportunity to really do that with the podcast. We do the podcast, we record and put it up there, and we don't get a chance for interaction too much. So we wanted to just kind of have a live event, have a little interaction, and I hope you enjoyed it. Plus we got to kind of think through some of our property a little bit, what we're going to be doing this year, and making some plans. And it was a lot of fun.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, we're really happy you guys came and stay here with us and asked a few questions, so we wasn't just sitting here talking like doing another podcast.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, and you don't have to edit.
Yeah, no editing. It's just going to go up like this. Yeah, cut the editing out. Maybe we should do our podcast just like this and have interaction with our podcast.
I know it would cut your editing time out.
Something to think about, isn't it? We might have to change things up a little bit. Anyway, folks, well, I'm glad you all joined us tonight. We're not going to stay on here any longer. We're both early to bed people, so we got 4 a.m. comes early. So yeah, we have to get up early. So anyway, thanks for joining us tonight, and happy homesteading. God bless. Go ahead, Rachel. Throw it out there.
Where you're planted.
I knew it was coming. All right, folks. Thanks.